Well, good morning. This is Ian R. Crane, and it's the morning of Thursday, 28th September 2017, and I am standing at the back of the Kirby Misperton well site. This is Third Energy's well site here in North Yorkshire, and I am once again on the public footpath that happens to run right behind the well site here. As you can see behind me, and what's occurring here is the sound barrier is taking shape. Of course, it's a euphemistic sound barrier because in reality it's a vision barrier. And the lower layer is containers, and the upper layer obviously at the moment is being erected with all the scaffolding from Sky Scaffolding in Whitby. Now, we've had an eventful week. We had a lock-on Monday, we had the farmers' tractor rally here on Tuesday, and then another lock-on yesterday. And firstly, let me acknowledge that anyone would think that North Yorkshire Police are watching our live broadcasts or reading our Facebook pages, because right from the get-go yesterday, Inspector Johnny, 1981, actually made the observation that the lock-on crew would be permitted welfare support and a legal observer. Well, and he said that that would stay in place until such time as the removal team arrived. When the removal team arrived, they seemed to be very uncomfortable with a number of people who were not actually locked on being in the arena, and so for safety reasons they decided to limit it to one. Well, due to a little bit of a mix-up, that one ended up being me. So I did have the opportunity to watch the removal crew at close quarters, which of course will explain why you didn't see too much output from me yesterday, because part of the arrangement was that I didn't photograph or film from within the sterile area. But there was no real issue for me because there were plenty of other people, and the event was actually live streamed throughout the day by Dr. Stephen Pears. So, you know, thanks for that. And it's wonderful to see Cheryl Atkinson here from PNR and her amazing photography, and she was also here documenting the day. So everything went a little different from Monday. It was a little bit more of a relaxed atmosphere. The Neanderthals in the North Yorkshire PSU seemed to be a little bit more under control, and even, I gather, somewhat conversational. So, hey, you know, wonders will never cease. As I say, maybe they're actually watching the live streams, and who knows, maybe they might actually learn something to their long-term advantage. So today, who knows what's going to happen? It was an extremely wet night. The mud factor has increased by a factor of about 300, I think, overnight. So, you know, we're going to have some issues to deal with on the camp, certainly over the weekend, but hopefully the roadway that has been generously offered by Ecotricity will arrive, and we will be able to get all the vehicles back on the camp sometime over the weekend, if not early next week. So today, this may well be almost the last opportunity I get to do a live stream where you can actually see the well site. Either that, or of course I have to get a very long camera pole, or we might have to deploy a drone or two. We'll see what occurs. But let me make an observation. Obviously, for the moment, we have focused on the fact that Third Energy have every intention of being the first company to frack in the UK since the moratorium was lifted in December 2012. But something that I haven't mentioned too much recently, but I am reminded that it is an extremely important aspect of this campaign. And I first mentioned this issue nearly 4 years ago in September of 2013, and used the opportunity to do a bit more research. But when the Infrastructure Act was modified to permit anything, any substance, to be buried in deep borehole disposal without consultation with the local authority and local communities, it raised very, very loud alarm bells in my head. Not least because I was very aware of the research being undertaken by Dr. and now I believe Professor Fergus Gibb at Sheffield University. And Fergus Gibb is on point in the research for the disposal of highly toxic nuclear waste down deep boreholes. Now, at the moment, his practical experiments are limited to the United States. But having followed the work of radioactive waste management, which is the waste arm of British Nuclear Fuels Limited, and radioactive waste management, of course, had a project to bury the toxic nuclear waste, which is accumulating in numerous sites around the country, because, of course, since 1983 they have been no longer able to bury it at sea. So it's held in temporary storage facilities around the UK. Well, back almost 2 years ago now, I attended a seminar in Plymouth, which was being conducted by Radioactive Waste Management. And the project leader for the siting of the disposal facilities is a lady by the name of Natalie Ayler, who is a graduate of Texas A&M, the Agricultural and Mechanical University in South Texas. Natalie Ayler had previously worked for W.S. Atkins, where her responsibilities were to work with the nascent shale gas industry and looking at the potential viability of establishing a shale gas industry in the UK. Then in 2014, she gets recruited by Radioactive Waste Management and becomes responsible for establishing the locations where the disposal facilities will be established. Now, initially, the Radioactive Waste Management facility was going to be in Allendale in Cumbria, which is where Sellafield is located. And the community and local council in Allendale, District Council, I think pretty much worked on the basis of, well, you know, shit, we're screwed anyway. You know, we've already got Sellafield on our doorstep. We might as well take the 40 million that's being offered by the British government to look at the prospect of burying this highly toxic nuclear waste deep under Allendale. Well, Cumbria County Council took a look at that and immediately threw it out, which gave Radioactive Waste Management a problem. So they have undertaken over the last couple of years a tour of the UK to try to find a community somewhere in the UK, preferably over suitable geology, whatever that might be, more of that later, to take the government bribe of £40 million just simply to establish and seek the geological maps to determine whether it's appropriate. Well, funnily enough, they have struggled to find a community that is willing to be the guinea pigs for the industry of deep borehole disposal. So, what does that leave? Well, consider the possibility that actually the fracking agenda is actually a red herring. It's actually a loss leader, because communities are obviously up in arms about the prospect of having a fracked gas well in their backyard. But consider what the reaction might be if they thought for 1 minute that actually the long-term goal is to use these deep bore